All right, my friends, welcome to an all new episode of Georgio Says the podcast. It is Monday, and we've got to start the week off strong. We got the premiere, well, some of us got the premiere of Real Housewives of London. Everyone has been anticipating this. There's been a lot of questions. I did post a short recap this morning, but we are going to discuss it a little bit more because I am obsessed. We're also going to dive into a couple other headlines happening across the Bravo universe. And then we're going to discuss something that I just posted about, which is the whole situation regarding Real Housewives of Orange County's Katie Ginella, Gretchen Rossi, and Jen Pendranti, if I'm going to be 100% honest. But I'm going to get more into that in this episode. So buckle up and let's jump right on in.
We need to talk about this. Talk about this.
All right, now here's your host of the Georgio Says podcast. It's Georgio.
We need to talk about this.
All right, my friends. So thank you for joining me for another episode of the Georgio Says podcast. Listen, we've been busy over here, but we are moving and grooving now. That's all I'm going to say about it. But anyways, I want to kind of run through a couple of things that have been kind of floating across the headlines as of late.
It's time for the headlines. We need to talk about this.
And I guess I'll start with Miami. If you missed it, Todd Nepola, who is Alexia's estranged husband, and I do now believe they are finally done. He came out and made one of his very lengthy videos, and it was very interesting because he basically is saying that a lot of what we're seeing play out in terms of storyline on Real Housewives of Miami is not true at all, even down to the part where Alexia says that Todd allegedly left Frankie all alone as he walked out the door. Todd is saying that absolutely never happened. He's also saying that he, outside of Frankie's parents, has done the most for Frankie and his well-being. And he also said that he was actually still paying the rent on Alexia's home that we're watching her live in on this current season. So all of this is very interesting, but he said all that to say basically he's going to be suing Bravo and the production company because his reason for even coming back this season and allowing for the storyline to play out the way it is because he was told that he would get more clarity around the lies that Adriana brought up, I guess, last season around his finances. Look, I'm sort of believing Todd here on this one because I do think that, yes, he absolutely probably asked Alexia to quit the show. I don't necessarily think he's in as much financial turmoil as it was made out to be because the man did just buy a massive building. And I don't think if you have that much financial issues, you'd be approved to even, mortgage out something like that. Nonetheless, if he's paying the rent and he's doing all these things that he's claiming he's done and is still doing, then I do think it's foul of Alexia to be okay with that if she truly did love this man. Because as we're seeing it play out on the show, Alexia is not done with Todd. And it's clear that she still wants him in her life, but she's not going to give up the fame and the show for him. And I understand that as well, because the show was here before Todd. And although there was a hiatus, it did come back. And yes, he was already in her life, but it was still a part of her fabric, so to speak. So I don't think it's necessarily fair for him to have asked that, but I do understand why he's angry if lies were being brought out. And this season, it seems like maybe this whole storyline is all fake. So that's a little bit mind-blowing. In other news, we have Beverly Hills spotted in Florence. Yes, I saw two different TikToks from different, either tourists or people that live there. Anyways, the group is in Florence. Now, I know they were originally supposed to go to Australia, but something came up, and I do feel like it had something to do with Erica and her court dates. I'm not sure what happened there. They didn't end up going. It seems like they may have put it on the back burner. Maybe they'll go as maybe the last cast trip of the season. Who knows? I'm not even sure where we are in the timeline, if I'm honest, with Beverly Hills, because so much has been happening elsewhere. But that should be interesting. It's also interesting to me because we did get Denise back filming at least once that we know of. And we obviously know she's going to be talking about the Aaron Vipers of it all. But it's interesting that Denise has come back to film and the girls are in Florence. I'm not sure Denise is with them. I'm pretty sure she's not. But it will be interesting. There's also some other news going around that Dorit has been spotted with PK, and people are trying to speculate perhaps maybe the divorce is off. So if that's the case, and people are really going to raise eyebrows on last season, and they're really going to question if any of that was even real. But that's all just speculation. Those are just the word on the street. And what else is happening? We did get the Salt Lake City trailer, season 6. All I'm going to say about Salt Lake City is the editors and the production company, all of it, the girls, they understand their roles. And it is so clear with every trailer that they have put out. There's an overarching storyline, and then there's the individual conflicts between the women that play out. Plus, there's so much more that we don't even see in the trailer, which is when you know it's going to be a good season. Because if you're getting all these highlights and you know there's more under the surface, I mean, we already got our first soundbite. Lisa Barlow blessed us before the season even premiered with a soundbite that people are going to use. Well, I know I am. People are going to use this forever. It's going to be in the book of all the classic soundbites that have come out of Bravo and Housewives. Gout Dick Sucker is probably the funniest, most petty, but like really cunty comeback that you could come at someone with if they're in a situation where they perhaps suck gout dick. I think I'm saying that right. Anyways, gout essentially means, if you don't know, it's like old or older. Anyways, I'm super excited. Okay. September 16th cannot get here fast enough. I know that this season's going to rock. And what else did I want to bring up with you guys? There was a back and forth between Tamra and Gretchen. That's not really big news. It was just basically, a lot of people are giving Tamra shit as always because she is the proclaimed villain of the show. So it's not like such a shock, but at the same time, I do feel for her in these moments because I know a lot of you guys have your opinions on her. And a lot of you guys think it's actually foul that she's using Teddy's illness as part of her storyline. But here's the thing. This is actually her really, really close friend. Okay. They do the podcast together. They spend a lot of time together. They've been doing this for a long time. They are very much close. Like they're probably like almost like sisters at this point. I don't think it's fair that Tamra not talk about those elements, because otherwise it would just not make sense as to why she's so reactive or so emotional or whatnot. But having that context that, yes, this has been difficult because I don't want to lose my friend, that makes sense. And I'm not saying that's giving her an excuse, but I do think we need to practice a little bit more empathy for people that are actually dealing with some life-threatening issues. The rest of it is just petty bullshit at the end of the day. So I'll leave you there with that. But we've got to discuss the Real Housewives of London. You guys don't even understand. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I was like, look, this isn't even it's not even available in the US. So I'm just going to start there, but we're going to get into how you can watch it if you really want to. Okay. But yeah, let's just jump right in to Real Housewives of London, because I just want to touch over the premiere episode. They got the assignment. Look, I know the Brits are really, really harsh when we try to take an American concept in terms of a show or reality show and try to spin it towards, a more London-based audience. The Brits are very, very honest. If they feel like you are trying to make something look like something it's not, they're not going to give it any attention. So there was a lot of buildup to this show, and a lot of people thought it was a long time coming. You may or may not know that there was a franchise already in the UK based on the Real Housewives franchises called Real Housewives of Cheshire, or I hope I'm saying that right. Cheshire. Nonetheless, I think it only had 2 seasons. Again, it did not get received very well. It could have been a multitude of things, though. Could have been casting, could have been production, could have been a lot of it. But I think with this particular show, they put the budget into it. They absolutely did not all scrounge for pennies when it came to the budget. So they gave this the full on, like it's been on for 5 seasons effect, okay, in terms of budget. These women, the entire cast, they have actual real money. Like you can just tell that they are not putting on for the cameras. You can tell that there's a lot of it. Yes, I'm sure some people fluffed certain things up, but for the most part, these women have money. Okay. Specifically, Amanda Cronin, who a lot of you may or may not know, but she does have a fabulous skincare line, is at Saks. And if you know, you know. But nonetheless, she's clearly the queen bee of the group. At least that's how she's been positioned. And the entire episode was very much nostalgic of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 1, episode 1. You know, we didn't just try to jump in and start creating all this drama from the first like 6 seconds of the show airing. They actually took us through each of the housewives and gave us a little bit of background story on them. We got to see a little bit about them. And then we got to layer in the one-on-ones where a couple of them would meet up and have discussions. And then it was like the entire time, it was just giving camp. It was just giving camp. So I do think I've been reading some of the reviews coming out of the UK and also some that are here, but mostly the ones in the UK. A lot of people, I mean, there's been some mixed reviews. Some people, like I think the one on Yahoo, was not in favor of it. They were saying it was a little bit too like fake put on and not a real sense of what London is actually like. And in fact, a lot of the women live not near London or London proper, I guess. So there was that, but I disagree. Not that that means anything, but I disagree in the sense that I think that the campiness of the women, because they have so much money, because they're bringing so much camp, because there's like interview scenes where Juliet, one of the cast members, there's 2 women on the cast that are named Juliet. One of them is an American and one of them, I think she's Australian. I believe she's Australian. Nonetheless, Juliet, she is doing her interview scenes in what looks to be like something pulled from like the 1809 British archive closet. It's like this very, like you wouldn't even know where to look for something like that. But she clearly has a lot of money because she also has this not only in gold, but in red, which she wears in this first episode in her interviews. So there's just a lot of campiness. Now, there is one housewife that I do think is going to be the villain, but I love her already. I know it's only episode 1. Her name is Panthea. And she has a problem with Juliet, basically, around a situation that occurred with a friend of hers that is a dentist. So we start to unpack where the drama is starting here. So Amanda Cronin, she's this big, like I said, like LVP, grandeur, like her poodle doesn't touch the ground for more than like 30 seconds. It has its own handler. Like she's got a party she's throwing around International Women's Day. It's a gathering. It's a social gathering of the who's who in this circle of women. And before the party, obviously the women are invited. This is a reality show. But we find out through Panthea that the issue she has with Juliet is centered around this dentist friend that Panthea introduced Juliet to. Okay. So keep that in mind. So then Panthea says that her son, who has braces, one of the braces either broke or came off. I'm not sure. She sent her son to her friend, the dentist, and said, please fix the brace on my son's tooth. Now, instead of the dentist doing what Panthea asked, I guess she decided, nope, I see that this brace is missing, but these 6 cavities need to be filled, and that's what I'm going to do. And so she did that, didn't fix the brace, sent the son home with a bill for the 6 cavities that she filled, and left it at that. And this is where Panthea got very upset and was like, absolutely not. You didn't even tell me that you were doing that. I didn't send him in there for all of that. And you didn't even fix his brace in the end of it. Also, now you're sending home a bill for something I didn't even ask you to do. That's wild. And because Juliet is now friends with the dentist, I guess Juliet took the dentist's side of the story and just ran with that and didn't ever touch base with Panthea. So Panthea is really, really stirred up about seeing her at this party. So I already knew, oh, this is going to be fantastical television. So we get to Amanda's, International Women's Day party. And Panthea shows up late, but she shows up and she comes in, and it's exactly the way Panthea described it in her interviews when she was talking about Juliet. She said Juliet would put on a whole show, and every time she sees her out, she tries to pretend like they're the bestest of friends and they're so close. Meanwhile, Panthea's like, blood is boiling because every time she has tried to approach Juliet about this, Juliet says, this isn't the right time to bring it up, because every time it's been a social gathering where it's like, well, okay, well, when is a good time to bring this up? Oh, when there's cameras at a social gathering, this is the proper time to bring it up. So she comes in, Juliet jumps literally off the couch, runs over to Panthea, gives her this big hug, and is pretending like, oh my God, it's so lovely to see you. How are you? And Panthea immediately stops her and she's like, you don't need to do all this fake shit. Like, you know where we stand right now, so don't put on this whole fucking show. And from there, it just kind of just went downhill from there, because then Panthea just unleashed on her. Not only is she pissed at her for taking the dentist side, because I introduced you to her, so your loyalty really should be to me first. And if not, you should have at least come to me and heard my side of the story, but you didn't. On top of that, you borrow all of your clothes. Yes, you borrowed a bunch of clothes so that you could take them to Australia for this trip. And then you borrowed another dress for the BAFTAs, and you just are so fake and phony. And I was like, wow. And she did not mince any words. Also, it's uncensored. Like, they don't censor F-bombs and all that stuff over there. So it was just like, it was a full-on experience, So everyone at the party is just gobsmacked, because they're like, okay, wow, we're jumping right on in. But it was like, yes, I appreciate that, because it's like she already built us up to the fact that there was some conflict, right? So this is the first all cast event that we're seeing. So yes, this would be the appropriate time for her, especially if she's acting the exact way that she's been describing her, which is fake, phony, and pretending like nothing's wrong. Now, it seems like Panthea came in, caused this big old storm, ripped Juliet a new one, and then was like, all right, I'm going to go. See you guys. And then she peaced out. It's like she literally just came there to chew Juliet out and then leave. Okay? I loved every second of it. Again, this season, the trailer, by the way, I watched the trailer when it first came out, but obviously I had no context as to who any of these people were. So the conflict wasn't as saturated for me. But after watching episode 1 and going right into the trailer, I was like, oh, I'm so sat for this. So if you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, I'm going to tell you how you can do so if you live in the US. Okay. So the network, or the platform in which it streams, is called Hayu. That's Hayu. And they do have apps just like Peacock. It's very similar. Now, if you're in the US, you're going to go to that website and it's going to say, sorry, we're not available in your region. Womp, womp. Okay. So if you really want to watch it, though, you can get yourself a VPN. Okay. If you are familiar with VPNs allow you to sign into different parts of the world. And there's a multitude of reasons why you would use that. But I have mainly used it so when I do travel and I'm in a different time zone, I can stay on US time zone for the show so I can keep the recaps coming. Nonetheless, I figured, okay, I have this VPN. I'm going to see if the show's any good. So I signed on to my VPN, connected into London, downloaded the Hayu app, signed up for an account, and I was able to watch it just fine. So if you guys really want to do that, that is how you'll be able to watch it. I know it sucks. I wish Bravo would kind of play it, even if it's later. Like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't follow the same schedule, because again, this is, not based here anyway. But you never know. If it does really well, I could see them maybe doing some sort of collaboration where they put it on Peacock or something. I'm not sure. But I am obsessed. I'm sat. I'm going to be watching, and I will be recapping it. So if that's going to annoy you, I do apologize in advance if you're not going to be watching it. But hopefully the recaps will be enticing enough to listen anyways. But hey, can't make them all happy, right? But let's take a quick break, And then when we come back, I want to kind of start to discuss my theory and speculation around what's currently playing out on Real Housewives of Orange County with Katie Ginella and the whole roofie rumor that allegedly Gretchen told her about, that she allegedly told Kiki Monique about. Oh boy. We'll be right back.
This episode of the Georgio Says podcast is brought to you by Golly Nutrition, the inventive, people-focused nutrition company making your daily supplements simple and delicious. Every Golly product is crafted with high-quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will love. At the heart of Golly is purpose. Through the Golly for Good initiative, they support our planet and our communities, partnering with Vitamin Angels and Eden Reforestation Projects. Visit golly.com today and use the code The Georgio Says at checkout for a special discount just for our listeners. That's Golly Nutrition. Simple, delicious, and good for the world.
This episode of the Georgio Says podcast is brought to you by Pop Pop and Ya-Ya's Smoky Pet Treats, where every bag has a story, and every bite is made with love. Each Pop Pop and Ya-Ya's Smoky Pet Treat is 100% natural, gently smoked to perfection, and made with just one ingredient, either chicken or beef. Your pets won't say no. No preservatives, no additives, just pure, savory flavor your dogs will love. Perfect for snacking, training, or even crumbling over their meals for an extra tail-wagging treat. Visit ppyytreats.com today to shop their smoky chicken breast strips and smoky beef strips and tell them Georgio sent you. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, my friends. All right, so let's dive into Orange County. I'm not sure if you guys are really caught up to speed yet. For everyone asking, the Orange County recaps have stalled with James just because of scheduling and things have been going on. So we will get back on track with those very shortly. But what I want to discuss on this episode mainly is centered around the Katie Ginella kind of takedown, if you will. Now, I want to preface by saying Katie's never reached out to me in any regard. We chatted a little bit last season, not anything wild. It was like, hey, are you going to be at this viewing party? Or if you're ever in OC, like blah, 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 like very like friendly, nothing too intense. So I'm scrolling over the weekend and I'm seeing there's one particular content creator that me personally, I feel like they are a crock of shit for the most part, but that's not the point. The point is this content creator went on a whole rant about how Katie also reached out to them and also had told them what Tamra said she said to Kiki about Gretchen being roofied. It's a little bit convenient for me because now it's like, okay, I understand that the content creators like Kiki, she is a content creator, but she's also considered a radio host as well, to be fair. But nonetheless, the Bravo babe and the Kiki Moniques of it all and all that stuff. Again, I go back to Katie's background is in media, so I guess maybe naturally she leans in a little bit more on that side because she understands it better. I'm not sure. No, her hands are not clean. I get it. But what's really got me tripped up here is when I look at the last episode, initially I looked at it and I was like, wow, Gretchen was clearly thrown off by this news. And one would think Tamra kind of pulled this out of her ass or back pocket to try to like make nice with Gretchen so that she could have an alliance. I'm not sure that was the case. I think she was really just trying to let her know, like give her a bone, like, hey, your friend Katie, you might want to check on her because it sounds like she's going around telling people this. And you're saying, if you are saying this, then I do have a problem with that because I didn't roofie you. But Gretchen in the moment was almost like in such total shock. And then it registered, I think, and then she did get emotional. Here's the thing. Now, when I go back and rewatch that scene, I look at it a little differently because now I have more questions, actually. So, let's just say Katie said that to Kiki Monique. Let's just say she did. And I'm sure, or I hope that this plays out in the next few episodes because I really hope this isn't going to drag into the finale, you guys. It's really going to drive me insane. But nonetheless, if Katie did say that to Kiki Monique, why then? Well, how would she have known that? Where would she have gotten that information? Because Katie would not, in my opinion, doesn't seem like someone that would just concoct a whole thing up on her own. like as if like she went back and watched season 4 and then watched the Naked and Wasted episode and then was like, oh, I'll say that Gretchen said that Tamra tried to roofie her. And I was like, thinking, I'm like, that's just a little too dangerous and too slippery. I mean, she would have to be an idiot, like an absolute idiot, to think that she could pull that off if she was just going to pull that out of her ass. So then I'm like, wait a second. So then we go back to the dinner that Gina was hosting where Tamra basically, had to leave and threatened to quit and did quit for a couple days or whatnot. When I look back at that scene, it's clear that, well, even before that, when Katie goes in to meet Gretchen before they go to dinner, when I hear that the husbands, Slade and Matt, have already discussed this before the wives have come together to discuss this, makes me feel like perhaps it's feeling like someone is trying to get their story straight before we get back on camera. That's what it's feeling like. And I also feel like Katie is the fall guy for this. And I really also think, if I'm going to be 100% honest, Jen also was aware of this comment. And I'm thinking in my head, well, okay, well, if Katie didn't make this up, then it could be very possible, right, that Gretchen maybe did say that allegedly to Katie, but also Jen, because I think these three were hanging out for a good while before any of this was going to play out. So I think it could have been an easy night out where the girls were out having dinner and drinks, and maybe they were, Gretchen was complaining about the Naked and Wasted episode again, which is why I don't buy what Jen's selling, because she sat there and pretended like she had no Scooby-Doo clue as to what they were talking about when in reference to the Naked and Wasted party. But I believe, this is my belief, my speculation, based on what I'm seeing, it's a bit too obvious to lay this all on Katie. Someone had to give her the information at the end of the day. Now, I can't, confirm or deny that she spoke with Kiki and actually said those things. I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But on the other hand, even if she did, someone gave her that information, is my point. So why are we only going after Katie and not going after the person? Right? So it looks like Katie is the fall guy, in my opinion, because I think Jen and Gretchen really wanted to stick it to Tamra and they needed something. And that's what I think is sticky about all of this. That's why I'm thinking this isn't so cut and dry. I know so far it isn't looking great for Katie. Okay. But remember, this is a reality show and it's heavily edited. So a lot of context is left out. But I'm hopeful that more information comes out about this situation, because as of right now, I don't really think I can just be sold on Katie's the problem and that's the end of the story. There's more people involved, in my opinion. And I already said my opinion about how I believe Heather is the puppeteer around all of this, which is why I think Tamra got pissed off at her at that dinner for laying low and not jumping in, because I think there's more people in that group that were really anticipating and kind of gassing Tamra up to go in and do what she did, to then just sit back and basically turn on her and act like, I don't know what she's talking, like it ain't my business. So there's that too. But yes, I don't believe for a second that Katie's 100% to blame for any of this. And we don't really know if she said that to Kiki Monique. We don't. What we do know is that Gretchen and Tamra have had a long history of not liking each other. They both have their issues with each other. And, I don't think they're ever going to be friends, and that's fine. But I also don't like it when we're going to pin every little thing on one person on the cast. That's not fun to watch. I also don't buy it because I don't believe that in real life. I don't believe it on reality TV, and I'm surely not going to believe it in this situation. So my gut is telling me that things have been pre-discussed before the cameras go up so that we can make things look a certain way. But that's just my opinion. That's my speculation. You guys can absolutely let me know your thoughts about this down below wherever you're listening or watching this episode. But I'm saying something's murky in the water. Okay? All right. Look, I'm not going to drag this episode out. It's Monday. Let's ease into the week, okay? Look, I do want to remind you guys, I am going to be posting the new merch collection very shortly. And once that's out, I'll be posting links on my Instagram on how you can buy it. My last merch collection with the chain smoking Dorit collection did very well. So I appreciate you guys so much. So I'm excited about this new collection and can't wait to share it with you guys very soon. And if you guys love me and want to support me, please give me a 5-star rating wherever you're listening to this podcast. I greatly appreciate it. I said a little bit earlier, James and I will get back on track with the recaps for Orange County. But until then, there's always my short recaps on TikTok and Instagram that you can go and watch. And then now you'll be getting more of that now that the podcast is back on and popping. But yes, let me know your thoughts down below on everything that was discussed in this episode. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. Stay safe. And until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.
We need to talk about this. Talk about this.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast.
We need to talk about this.